There we go. Looks like our live stream is on. And it's 5 p.m. Brian, if you would, Brian, you can start with roll call, and I have a last minute notice here. Commissioner Rand may not be able to make it. She had something come up.
Okay. Commissioner Young,
I'm here.
Commissioner Nye,
Here.
Commissioner Schwartz,
I'm here.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Jackson,
Here.
Chair Lorman.
Here. Okay, well, thanks. Proof of posting. Brian, if you posted in the city, and Rich,
Yes,
you've got posting.
Agendas were posted at City Hall, on the city website, and at the airport.
Okay, thank you very much. Public comment. Do we have anybody? Hands up or anything? I have nothing submitted in writing.
Nope, I don't have any virtual hands up or anything that was submitted ahead of time.
Okay, well, we'll move on from that. I've reviewed the minutes from September 5th, and I have no comments or corrections. Does any commissioners have any comments, corrections?
No.
All right.
None here.
Thank you very much. We'll accept the minutes as submitted. And we'll just dive right into reports. I have a little bit more of a lengthy report, but I'll start out with just probably the most interesting, impactful news, as we anticipated, was in California. They actually did pass legislation that would ban the sale of low lead fuel starting in 2031, and that parallels, the FAA timeframe. It's just something to keep an eye on, make note of, and that's really about it. I will ask Brian to give an update on the council's decision last week regarding aviation and the RPZ. And if you would like to comment on that, Brian, then this is just for information only, so we're not having a dialogue or discussion. It's just an update from the city.
Yep. So at the last council meeting, the council voted to secure a navigation easement for the southern RPZ, the runway protection zone, kind of retroactively to May 2023. Going forward, and in a parallel process, we've been working with contacts at the Bureau of Aeronautics and the FAA to submit the required documentation to have that whole runway protection zone moved to the north onto airport property. And we are waiting for their formal decision on that request. Again, because it's FAA, we don't, there's no specified timeline when we would hear back from them, but that's been submitted to them and are waiting their review.
Yeah, and I guess all I would note is the way the council came down on this. The city did recommend a 50-50 funding split between the Airport Enterprise Fund and the TIF district for that. That vote was voted down by a majority of the Common Council, except to a 75-25 split of funding. There was, of course, one alder who supported the 50-50 split. But that's politics. I would then, since Brian is here, Brian, again, these are not for these are just for discussion only, no decision or action items. But Brian, if you had any updates, say on where we just left off on some business, maybe working towards the ordinance change and commission composition, website, FAQ, BOA petitions, anything you know about that, or ALP. And then just going back through my notes, the commission did give a direction to continue to investigate a compatible land use plan and, where the city maybe sits on that in a pipeline.
For the first question on the ordinance for committee composition, that is something that I'm working with the city attorney on. We should have a draft of some potential language for your review at the next airport commission meeting. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the list that you had.
Okay. No problem. Website language.
Yep, website language. So based upon your feedback at the last airport commission meeting, we've updated the FAQ on unleaded aviation fuel to include some language at the top, kind of a disclaimer, if you will, just saying that, while the city is supportive of the transition to fully unleaded aviation fuel, that a lot of the key decisions and timeline and processes are driven by the FAA and the manufacturers and distributors themselves. And there's more information in the actual questions themselves on what who's involved and what different groups are involved in that process. So that's been updated on the website now. And then on the comprehensive land use plan, that's something that I'm working with planning staff to get a better sense of what sort of information we could include in that document. And not going to say that it necessarily will be ready for the next airport commission meeting, but I'll try to get you a draft of something hopefully before the end of this year.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll insert then a final close to my report. Normally it would be Rich doing this, but Rich's loss is my gain, as I attended the Wisconsin Airport Managers Association meeting today. So kind of like hot off my press, and I just wanted to pass along and share some information, and thank Rich for encouraging me to just reach out to them and literally just attend. So this morning, our mayor also showed up, and when we got there, we scanned the room and we sat down at a table and had some nice brief introductions with the regional FAA staff. And we used that opportunity to, of course, plug for our current projects that are in the pipeline. And then when Mayor was done with that, she scooted out of there for the rest of her day. But of course, I stayed there for the rest of the day, doing what people from Wisconsin do, and that's being a good badger, badgering them with the things we have in our pipeline. It was very interesting. The keynote speaker at this was the president and CEO of the General Aviation Manufacturers Association. And so, this is kind of one piece of the airport business out there. And this individual pointed out, I would say, some areas between them and the FAA that are differences in the way business is done and things like that. And almost to the point of, shall we say, pain points. But the FAA provided some sage advice and said, and this is kind of my takeaway for us, when we engage in a project, we deal with a lot of different people, say at the BOA. And so when we identify the right person for the right project, if we can identify the next person kind of up on the chain of command who the BOA would interface with at the FAA. And the FAA's advice to us was, well, if you know who those people are and you're not satisfied with the progress, that you're getting at your local airport, then just reach out and start asking questions to those people up the chain of command. And I guess what I would say is our needs, our asks, our concerns, we're not alone. I mean, general aviation airports all over the place that have things in the pipeline and things that have been pushed up the BOA and things that need to get done need to get done. And I guess it's kind of incumbent on us to keep an eye on who those people are and to, I guess, politely continue to remind them of what our needs are. So that was really nice. Just to touch base with those people. People came up to us and complimented our airport and our city. As a package, people said, we really like your city. Walking around it, nice city to walk around and enjoy. And so it was just all complimentary towards our airport and our city. And it was very nice, positive reflection. So, and then tomorrow, I'll be on a panel discussion, providing some input and answering some questions too. So that should be interesting. So thanks, Rich. And now you can do your report.
Okay, very good. All right. Again, you've all got a copy of this, pretty much standard here from August 28th through the September 27th. We had 5 individuals make 6 noise or low flying aircraft reports. Now, there actually were 8, but 2 of these were in processing when I did this report. I only had so much time, so essentially along the same lines, though, and they'll be counted in the next month's report. Responded to everyone who wished a response. No violations of the FAA regs were apparent. One thing that is apparent is when a couple of our aircraft, or at least the flight school from across the pond there at Wisconsin Aviation, were running a wider pattern than what we normally do. And I think that generated a couple of the noise complaints. I've spoken with their director of flight training, and he assured me that they would repost our noise abatement procedures. I've also reviewed all of that with our pilots and our flight instructors to make sure we're following those procedures. No aircraft accidents or incidents on the field. Crack seal is supposed to start next week. There have been some push back on dates because of some delays weather-wise and everything else. We'll see how it goes, but we could quite likely, we'll have the grass runway open for a couple of those days, but we could quite easily have the paved runway closed for four days. And that can be an issue. It might even follow through into the next week, but they assured us that the weekend would be open. Other news, the Experimental Aircraft Association Local Chapter 93. They met in the Maury Conference Room September 12th. The Young Eagles event was September 14th. Approximately 35 young people got aviation or got rides and went through the ground school. The Garden Club, the Maury Conference Room is available to all public groups, and we don't charge anything if you're a not-for-profit. So the Garden Club likes to meet there. They were very happy to be able to meet there. They were arranging flowers, and they graciously gave us a vase of flowers afterwards, which was quite nice. And then I presented a safety seminar September 26th. Topic was aircraft systems. William Brown Flight Academy hosted a Wings to Fly event September 28th. I was part of that. 5 young people were given introductions into aviation, ground school, and flights. Now, looking ahead, we've got another safety seminar scheduled October 24th. Then something that isn't on here, the VMC Club, which is in itself a safety seminar, will be coming up again on the 8th of October. I didn't have that one down because I just got a notice about it the other day. So we continue to do an awful lot with safety. And on a side note, I was asked to present my systems talk on for safety on a webinar that was national. There were over 1,200 people on that webinar that happened last night, and it went well. The local head of the FA safety was very happy about it, and his boss was on board, and he was pleased with it as well. So we are putting a good presence out there for the Middleton Municipal Airport and our commitment toward aviation safety.
Thank you very much, Rich. I really appreciate that, all the hard work and volunteer effort that goes into that. Okay, does anybody have any thing to add to the reports? Then we'll move on to discussion and action items. And Brian, I'll let you start this. We have a revision.
Yes, so the item that's on the agenda, the discussion for the SASO agreement for Stark Fleet Academy. I just spoke with the applicant about 10 minutes before the meeting started. He unfortunately is not able to attend this evening because of a transportation issue getting on a flight. So he profusely apologized, but asked that we continue this item to a future meeting so that he would be able to attend virtually and be able to answer questions from the commission. So unfortunately, the motion would be from this body to continue it to a future meeting.
Okay. All right. So commissioners, the motion on the floor is to take.
Sure. Mr. Schwartz has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just, I mean, I don't have any objection to continuing it, but to make it viable and keep it going, I just want to make a comment for our consideration. Maybe it requires the city attorney's input before we go on with this. But I took a very hard look at both the SASO agreement that's proposed as well as the minimum standards and requirements. And I'm old school, so I had to print it out so I could read it. I couldn't read it off my computer. And I have several comments, but I won't make them tonight since the applicant isn't here. But the one comment that I do want to make tonight, that again may be something, I guess it's kind of it's potentially a stopper for the whole deal, depending on what the city attorney may have to say. But under Section 4 of the minimum standards agreement, it says minimum standards for specific commercial aeronautical services. And it indicates that for flight training, you have to have minimum office space of 500 square feet. You have to have minimum hangar space of 3,000 square feet. You have to have total building space of 3,500 square feet and minimum land lease space of 6,000 square feet. And I turned to there's some language that says if there's an owner, an owner of lease space, he has to have that. But then you go on, and at page 18 of the standards agreement under 4.2, flight training, it specifically states that the minimum standards specifically applicable to an operator engaging in flight training, airport facilities, lease or sublease from the owner of an area not less than 6,000 feet. And I won't read the whole thing, but that goes back to those earlier standards. There's also some language in there about the number of aircraft that a person has to have. And I don't think either, particularly the leased space, the owned or leased space, and potentially some of these other issues were not something that I understood the applicant to have. And so if I'm reading that correctly, and again, if we want the city attorney to confirm it, that would be a non-go right out of the blocks.
Yep. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you. Yes, happy to relay these questions to the city attorney, and can either have an opinion from the city attorney or the city attorney attend the next meeting to answer these questions and any other questions that may come up over the course of review of this application.
And if I may add just one thing, that as part of our grant assurances, we as in the city, cannot show favoritism to one operator over another. Everything should be an even playing field. So requiring such from Maury Airplane Company and Capital Flight, we would put our federal funding in jeopardy if we ran an exception and did not hold another operator to the same standards.
Yeah, and I understand that to be a fact as well, Rich. And the other aspect of it is, us as representatives of the city of Middleton, as I thought about it, as I read that, and again, I have some other comments about what's in or not in the SASO agreement itself, to not have a facility, to not have the accountability that comes with having a facility such as leased space or an owned hangar, potentially puts the city or the citizens at jeopardy because they have no recourse against someone who just has a plane tied down on the ramp, here today, gone tomorrow, so to speak. So great concerns, and I think that the sections that I pointed out in the regulations kind of go to those issues.
Thanks. Brian, would it still be fair to make a motion, obviously to table this, or I don't know if tabling is the right language, but tabling and instructing the staff to city staff to consult with the city attorney regarding the information you have from Stark Aviation Academy as their business proposal, and ask the city attorney to look, of course, at our minimum operating standards. And Dave, would it sound appropriate to say advise us at the next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, particularly confirm whether or not that
Okay.
reading of section 4 is accurate, that you can't have a flight school unless you have leased or owned hangar space of no less than 6,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So what I would recommend the motion be then is a motion to continue review of this item, which is listed under discussion item number 1 under today's agenda to a future meeting, and request staff work with the city attorney to address the questions raised at tonight's meeting, including confirmation on reading of section 4 of the minimum standards.
Okay. So the motion before the body is to table this action item at this time, instruct city staff to consult with city attorney, looking at sections, I believe, of 4.2 of the minimum standards, and then come back to us at the next meeting when Mr. Stark is also available to represent himself. Was that
Yep.
Okay? Do I have a second?
Sorry,
I'll second it.
so just Chair Norman, you're making that motion?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll give you. Go ahead and type it out and read it back.
And then I have a second from Commissioner Schwartz.
Okay. Do you want to read it back?
So the gist of the motion would be to continue the item to a future meeting and direct staff to work with the city attorney to review section 4.2 of the minimum standards, determine whether or not the applicant meets the requirements, and schedule this for a time when the applicant is able to attend as well.
Sure. And out of all fairness to the applicant, I sort of had kind of made my notes too of review of the minimum standards. Could we say? I mean, I'd really like the city attorney to kind of look at the whole thing, because I think there are other elements of the minimum standards that I think would apply. Especially sections of 3.1 through 3.5. I mean, I think there's a lot there. 4.2 obviously stands out.
Yes, he'll look at the whole document.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Well, everybody, that brings us to the end of discussion action items. As far as future agenda
Oh,
items.
sorry, Mr. Chair. I would just quickly have that financial report just to
Oh.
show.
Sorry.
So, up on the screen is the financial report, including September's figures that we've received to date. Again, nothing of note from the finance department was relayed to me about September's numbers. Again, as always, if something comes up of note, I'll make sure to let you know.
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that I did review the finances. I have my own outline in front of me, and I'm not looking at the computer. In defense of Dave, I'm looking at paper also. Okay, now on to my note. That's obviously missing an item on it. If anybody has any future items for meetings, please reach out to Brian or myself. We'll add those to meetings for future discussion. Contact me or Brian at any time, or if anybody has anything at this point they'd like to ask Brian to add to a future meeting. Nobody?
Well, I did have a couple things. Our grounds fellow, Greg Jelinek, made a suggestion. We're constantly maintaining our lighting both in the parking lot and then out on the ramp. He wondered if it would be possible to upgrade that to LED or something more energy efficient than what we have currently. And I'd like to have the city think about that. I think honestly it's a no-brainer, although I don't know what the cost benefit would be to have that done. Yet every fall when we get into we go back to standard time and it gets darker, we discover we need to replace unit or lighting. I just as soon replace it with something more efficient if possible. So that's something that we might want to, I don't know if we need to have that as an agenda item or if that's just housekeeping, but it seems like a good option. And I'm sure it'll be more expensive than just swapping out the old bulb or light source.
Yep, I'll look at it either way. So either it can be done in-house or if it needs to be an agenda item, we'll bring it back.
Very good.
Anything else along those lines, Rich, while you're at it that Brian should add? Any other upcoming things that you think need some review?
Well, not that I can think of. I know I do. Something else we can consider is that the gates are original equipment. They're over 20 years old. They may require a lot of maintenance. They have issues when the wind is blowing strongly. I would like to see us consider replacing those as well.
Okay, yeah, I think that's definitely worth an item, because there might even be some some BOA and some that's part of airport security and infrastructure and things like that, right? Okay. All right, gates and lighting. Jack, anything to add?
It's just on that front. I don't know. The automated weather system hasn't been announcing wind directions for a while here. What is that? Did that just go kaput, or is that a part of our aging system, or what?
What has to happen is we need to get this was something that came up recently. We need to get someone out here to survey and put a marker on at a specific compass direction so that they can calibrate that wind direction precisely. I believe this is a new requirement, and I have contacted Mead and Hunt about it. I was going to wait until after the WAMA event and then get after them next week as well. They're close. They have surveyors. They could come out and do that fairly rapidly and get it done once they have the time to do so. But I know they're pretty busy with that aviation conference at the moment.
Okay, Brian, if you think you see a financial need or direction from the city, you can add that as an item. Otherwise,
Yeah, no, I'll reach out to Mead Hunt and work with them on getting that survey point. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Anybody else have anything to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you tonight for your time and effort and appreciate it as always. And